Hey guys, welcome back to part number 7 of my beautiful F-16 build in 32nd scale. Now, as you know, last week, this was going to be last week's video, but it's kind of split because it's so long. So last week we got to priming, now we're going to do painting. So do this beautiful 3-stage color painting and do some post shading and get it really weathered up and ready for the decals and weathering process. Okay, so the shadow coat and the white and the black is all drying on the jet. So while we dry, let's kind of talk about the color scheme. So all F-16s, US Air Force around this time period, the same 3 colors. So it's basically a gunship gray on the top. You have a light ghost gray on the bottom, and a medium gray in the basically on the tail on these guys and the front here. So even though I'm using aftermarket decals, like I said, unless it's half glass, the newer stuff, it's going to be in this scheme. So this one comes with a kit that is a really nice, big, large color called out, as you can see. So we're going to use lacquer paints as is kind of tradition. Here it tells you AS paints because they don't have, basically Tamiya don't have them in their range. Well, at the time of doing this, they do have the light ghost gray, and my favorite is the LP37, which is Tamiya lacquer. So this will be the underside. The medium gray, I'll be using Hitaka, and it's actually FS35237. Sorry, it's hard to read that. So that'd be the medium gray we're using. And then the gunship gray on the top is the FS36118. Yeah, 36118 gunship gray. Hitaka again, lacquer paint. So what I showed in hindsight is probably easier. These guys are different color to the lower, so it's probably better to paint those separately and super glue them on the very end. I've already attached them, so what I think is going to be easier is I'm actually going to start, usually go light to dark, but I'm actually going to start with the middle color first. So I'm going to paint these guys, the little bit at the side here, the front, which you kind of see that there, the front bit, and the tail, which is separate, so that's no problem at all. So we'll do the medium first, the medium gray, and then we'll mask that off, because it's easier just to mask this off rather than mask around it, you know, and do it the other way around. So we're going to mask that off once it's dry, and then do the light ghost gray, which is basically the side, the lower side, and the underneath, hole underneath. The nose cone is obviously separate, so that's easy. You don't have to worry about masking or anything. So paint the whole thing light gray, and then at the very end, the third color will be the gunship gray, which is the kind of the back, and you can see here the whole actually upper side is the gunship gray. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint all 3 colors solidly, like solid colors, mask them all, and once that's done, then we'll come back and do post shading. So that'll be kind of almost, I guess, a second stage of weathering. The first stage is pre-shading, whatever you'll see through it. Second is post shading, and then once we've got the decals on, then we'll get into like the oils and the washes and that kind of stuff. But the jet I'm using is obviously from Inslick. Operational environment back in I forgot the year, but it's Operation Northern Watch. It's going to be desert environment, so it's going to be worn, it's going to be, you know, views, it's not going to be showroom finish. So we're going to paint the colors solid, as I mentioned, and then once it's all dry and once it's all painted, then we'll come back and do post shading. So we'll take lighter shades of each color and then come back and fade all the paint, and make it worn and give it kind of that old kind of, well, not old, but give it that kind of used kind of line jet kind of feel. We'll talk about it a little bit later on. So I just going to talk real quick about the colors and what we're going to use and how we're going to do it. So what we'll do is once that's fully dry, like I said, we'll start with a medium gray and we'll paint the tail, these 2 guys, and the front side. Obviously this little bit here too. Okay, so let's get going with the first color, which is that medium gray, which again is Hitaka C046. Sorry, it's not focusing very good. There you go, 046. Mixed 50-50 with the Hitaka lacquer. Then a good shake. But I do have, I think, okay, I've got different airbrushes. You see, I got a tag L and A, so this is a lacquer paint, so I'm going to use my lacquer airbrush. I'm being pretty good right now, so I'm not kind of mixing my paints and keeping them separate. So I'm not going to get a ton of paint here because not much of it is going to be the medium grey. So about 50-50 mix. Don't think I have enough paint, but it's been enough to get started. So let's go ahead and paint these two little guys. Oh, first thing you should notice that I've masked up the wheel wells too, and put some foam and stuff in to protect the white. So let me throw the this tractor on. Okay, so it's now the following morning, so this is dried overnight, the medium grey, so we're fully dry, no problems. See, I masked up the line at the front, and this guy at the back, this line, and these guys ready to paint the light ghost grey on the bottom. Also, while we're at it, we've got paint the gun, we're going to paint the horizontal stabilizers. Be careful which way you go around, so on the left side, these two bumps are on the top, and these two on the bottom. What I've done is I just stuck a little bit of tape on the back, on the other side, so I know which side to spray, so I don't make a mistake. So it's gonna go. Wait a minute. It's gonna go. Yeah, like that. So I'm gonna paint the underside, which is that side. Kind of confusing, but there you go. So these two get painted as well. So yes, this is second with 3 colors. So we're going to use, as I mentioned before, LP37 Tamiya lacquer light ghost grey. Mix it with lacquer thinners. Ignore the bottles. I just like using these old Vallejo airbrush cleaning bottles. It dispenses it really nicely. So I decant everything into these bottles, but see it's labelled is lacquer thinner, which is, don't know about no, I don't have that actual bottle left over, but it comes in a square bottle, I think with the orange top. I think it has a retarder mixed in. So get my airbrush. We can go 50-50 mix. And mix it up. This is one of those things you should always mix in like a shot glass or a plastic little container, not in your airbrush. I'm just lazy. That's why I do it. Okay, I think we're good. Let's put the compressor on. Alright, so two things. You saw it live. So firstly, I couldn't figure out why it wasn't covering the paint, and I realized that the paint's already thinned. On my tin here I put a T if I already thin it, so it's already thin 50-50. So when I thinned it again, I basically made it like 75%, so it wasn't covering. So luckily I kind of realized and kind of fixed that. Secondly, again, laziness, I didn't have my top of my color cup, and you see I spilled it all over the wing there. Luckily it's on the underneath. I dabbed it off, sprayed it. I'll probably have to sand it back and redo it again. We'll see how it looks. But generally this part, like over here, you can see kind of the pre-shading coming through, that kind of stuff. So yeah, overall pretty good. So a couple of mistakes there, but just kind of call it out. But yeah, so we'll wait for this to dry, and then I'll probably just need to sand that back a little bit and just re-prime and paint that wing. But luckily it's on the underneath, so with the pylons and stuff on, you're never going to see it anyway. Right, so let this dry, which won't take very long at all. We're talking minutes rather than hours, and then we'll move on for the rest of it. Right, so ready for final color. So sanded this down and repainted it, no problem at all. Looking good. Now the top color and the final color is Gunship Grey, which is FS36118 or Hitaka number 31, which is what I'm going to be using. Chickened out a little bit. I guess you could freehand this at the front. I just went for usual and used my clever putty, which I used for camo. Just kind of sculpted it round the using the color chart to kind of get that kind of deep, that kind of the way it kind of curved at the front. So hopefully no problems this time around. So we're going to fill this color cup up, and we're going to get this top half painted, and also the top of the horizontal stabilizers. Right, so we're done. No problems there. Gone down nicely. Still a little bit of the pre-shading coming through. So let this dry for a few minutes. I don't like leave the stuff on too long, so literally 5 minutes just for it to kind of go off, and then I'll take this clever putty off, and then we'll let it dry. It's kind of the evening now, so I'll let it dry overnight, and then tomorrow we'll come back and do the post-shading, where we're going to kind of lighten it up and really kind of break up the paintwork. So I took the clever putty off, and it wasn't happy with the shape of the front. It was completely off. So I came back with a white Tamiya white curve tape, this stuff, and backfilled it with some masking. So let's go again and give it another quick coat. Like I say, wasn't quite 100% happy with it, so just want to give it, make sure I got the right color. I just want to give it one more go and get it that kind of shape a little bit better. Okay, so hopefully that's a little bit better. We'll take the masking off and see how it looks. If need be, I can just do it freehand with my 2.2 very fine airbrush, but hopefully that does the trick. So let's see once it's dry, we'll take it all off. Okay, so it's the following morning, and we're going to do a little bit of post shading to kind of really wear this down. So the point of this too is, I mean, a lot of people get hung up on colors, but once you kind of start doing this, shifting the shades and adding weathering and stuff, I don't think you need to be so kind of hung up on it. I must say though, out the bottle, these attacker paints look spot on. I mean, the middle gray, medium gray, and the gunship gray looks, as any reference picture you see, looks perfect. So I've gone ahead and started the, I faded down the blue, and which you can see on the camera very much, and the medium, it's still a little bit wet, the medium gray, and you might see it better on the tail actually. Again, show light, you can kind of see how I kind of faded it down. So now we're going to do the last color, the gunship gray. So I'm going to be good, and for this I'm actually going to use a little plastic glass to mix it. So you don't need much at all, so just a tiny little bit of gunship gray, just a bit more, and then I'm just going to make sure I do a little bit more. And then with grays, gray's basically a blend of black and white essentially, so I'm just going to lighten it with white, and you can darken it with black. So I'm going to use white. If you're using green, you might want to use yellow so you don't take the color way off. So this is why I have white LP paint here, so it's both lacquer, so it's no problem mixing it. So just add a drop. Probably gone, this is a little bit watered down, this LP2, so I've probably gone almost like 35-40% with this white. So let's just kind of mix it up and just see how we're looking. Make sure we don't take the color way off, but you would obviously want to make it a little bit different so it stands out. That actually looks pretty good. So just need to add a little bit of thinners. And then you can see we're kind of looking good. Okay, so we're just going to go, what I'm going to do is basically I'm just going to pick out the center of the panels and random areas on the darker grey area and just kind of really break the paintwork up and give it some kind of worn down kind of paint kind of look. Faded look, sorry. Okay, so it's knowing when to stop with this. I mean, you can go crazy, and you don't go too much. If you spray too much of the color on, it just shifts the whole color, right? So as you see, I went 3 or 4 times, just kept adding like more 50-50 white every time to get lighter and lighter. So I think I went through like maybe these 4 or 5 different kind of lightnings, different panels and stuff. It's a little wet, and it's in this light right now, so it's gonna be hard to see. It'll dry real quick in like half an hour or so, and then we'll come back and take a look at it and see how we're looking, if we need to add more or not. But I think it's going to be okay. It's good to lighten this off too, because once you have the weathering washes, it's going to darken it back up anyway. So by taking it down a couple of shades, you can go back up a couple with the dark washes, if that kind of makes sense. So you can be back to where you're at. So looking good. The final thing we're going to do is obviously clear coat all this thing and seal it all in, which I like to do. It's one of those big modeling questions. Do you need to seal in before decals? Yes or no? With lacquer paints, no. The reason I do it really is I've always done it and it works great. When I don't do it, it kicks me in the ass. And secondly, it just real seals that paintwork in and protects it from like little scratches and dings and stuff as you handle it. So I'm a big fan of clear coating. So I do a clear coat, gloss clear coat prior to the decals. So let me put this to one side, let it dry a little bit, and then let's see how we're looking in natural light and see if we need to do any alterations to it. Right, so we paint's dry. Now, just a quick word on this. I looked at my reference materials, and this gun bay is white. There is panels behind it and around it which are on a zinc chromate color, but these two actually are white, so I had to double check and triple check that one. I'm really happy how it kind of turned out in the end. It took me a few different attempts, but with the combination of using the clever putty and the white masking tape, I really kind of got what I wanted in terms of the demarcation line at the front here between the dark and the lighter grey. Hopefully you can see in the camera, quite subtly weathered. I kind of like it. Subtly and kind of paint work and weathering doesn't really go in kind of the same sentence for me. Normally I go a little bit over the top, but I kind of like how it is. It looks a little bit faded, but not too much. But by the time, I've got hair on here right now, but by the time we come back with the washes and stuff and oils, it's really going to kind of look good, I think. So just for the tail on, just for effects, you can see how it all looks. See the attacker paints kind of does have like a nice satin finish to it, so in the light here you can kind of catch the different colors and stuff, I think. So what's up next is, as I mentioned before, I'm just going to use LP9, which is a clear gloss coat lacquer, just to kind of get it over there. I like to use lacquer. Well, not only do I love using lacquer paints, but also my weathering is going to be oils and enamels, so I want to make sure in between the different coats is different medium, so we're using a lacquer medium. So give everything a nice clear coat. It's going to make the colors pop a little bit more, and then we'll come back next week and we will work on the decals, which I love doing decals. I'm not being sarcastic, I really do enjoy doing decals, so looking forward to that one. As you see now, reason why I kind of split this video into two parts with the priming and this one, it was just gone on for way too long. It's just a lot of stuff, a lot of information, so hopefully you have stayed long this far and have found some useful information on here and haven't waffled too much. But yeah, so I'm going to head off camera and spray this guy, the LP9, and then when we come back next week, we'll get going with decals. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Goodbye.